Hey everybody, and welcome back to round 2 of Sports Central.
That's round 2, believe me.
And if you're just joining us, I'm Mark Jackson. To my right, to your left, Mr. Hank Longo.
Hello, everyone.
Leading in the polls right now.
Two big knockout punches in that first segment. Mark was chipping away, but he still has 2 segments to go to come back on the attack. But hey, having a fun show and another great guest joining us. And of course, we've got to thank Harry's Seafood Bar and Grill. It's just one of our great sponsors here.
Down in next to Munn Park in downtown Lakeland. Coldest beer in town, I always say.
Yeah, great.
Crawfish etouffee is my favorite. Love it there. You know, it's just a fun place. You just go in, and service is great, food's outstanding, and all that. But we got a celebrity in the house.
Yes, we do.
You know sports? You've heard of sports. You even know the word sports in Polk County. Then you know our next special guest, and that's Mr. Gene Engle. Has been around a long, long time. Actually, his father cut his teeth in boat racing many, many years ago, and he's here to talk about the Orange Cup Regatta. It is a fun, family-friendly race with some of the best drivers on the planet.
Yeah.
And Hank, after all of that, I'm going to let you introduce him then.
Well, Mr. Gene Engle. Well, thank you, Mr. Jackson. And moving over, Mr. Engle. Gene, this is the 75th annual Orange Cup Regatta, right. And you've been so instrumental in this event and keeping it going over the years, and you're bringing it back one more year again. It continues.
Well, it's one of those things that kind of gets in your blood, and each year you say, you know, I've got to retire from this thing, and about 3 months out, all of a sudden you start getting this interest again, and you get excited about having it. This is the 75th running of the Orange Cup Regatta. It is one of the oldest regattas in the United States. The Gold Cup, which was founded in Detroit, and that's, of course, where the American Powerboat Association's headquarters are located.
Out on the Detroit River with all those big hydroplanes.
Yeah, that was founded in 1904, so we were around 1933. So it's been a long time, and it's, of course, quite a legacy for the whole area.
Your dad's name was Walter.
That's correct.
And he started, of course, involved in the Lakeland Yacht Club and all of that type of stuff. If he could join us today, what do you think he would say if he stepped out onto that dock and watched the racing?
Well, I think the first thing he'd say is, boy, they sure got faster. And in fact, the course that he laid out back then was 1 2/3 miles. And we had to shorten it to 1 mile oval because it got so fast that the drivers were actually concerned about it.
Getting too fast and then having to make the turn
right.
with having enough room to run.
Yeah.
Now, kind of going back to, this is interesting to me, going back to when this first started, what kind of engines? I mean, they were having outboards, I presume, or did they have inboards back then as well?
When they first started it was outboards on Saturday and inboards on Sunday. Now we have both on Saturday, both on Sunday, and they get twice the number of points because it's really two separate races. But back then, the engines were those with the cylinders that came out both sides,
yeah.
and it's a shame that we didn't save some of those engines from back then because it would make a great museum, especially for the over in Auburndale.
Yeah, for the Hall of Fame.
And then they progressed to the little Mercuries that we used to try to ski. I mean, both you guys are skiers, and
he did. I didn't.
Yeah.
He started back in the 30s or 40s, so they did have the 20s back when he started.
Yeah.
When he started, they were
still handling a clothesline.
When he started, they were still rolling. The guy with the whip, about 10 guys aside, and they whip them, and he'd stand back there.
Hank, I'm sorry I brought that up.
That's okay, Gene. It's okay.
One of the classes, and there's like, there's like 12 classes or something here that I'm looking at, or 13 or so. Jersey skiffs, they're back.
Yeah.
Your favorite.
Your favorites.
They are the coolest thing. I don't know why. I just think they are so cool, and they're inboard boats.
That's correct.
But the engine, where does the engine sit physically?
It actually sits in front of the driver. And in this particular class, you also have a passenger with you. It's a two-person boat.
And it's kind of a big boat, too.
Well,
kind of
it started in New Jersey. They were literally skiffs, and then somebody one day said, you know, why don't we put an engine in this thing? And they never designed the boat to fit the engine, and that's probably what the problem is. They look like a tennis ball coming around the corners out there. I mean, they're all over the place, and you wonder how in the world can these drivers hold these things in a straight line, and I'm not sure they do. They actually put cages on them some years ago, because what would happen is they would turn up so much on their sides that the prop was chewing up the guys in the boat next door to them. So they had to put cages on there to keep them.
Well, the guys will get that close to them?
Oh yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it gets pretty tight.
Wow.
And one of the things that especially kids like to ask, well, how fast are those boats going?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were talking about the different classes and stuff. What's the most powerful or high-speed class?
Probably the highest speed class is the flat bottom boats, which they'll get up in the 150 mile an hour area, 140, 150 miles an hour.
On Lake Hollingsworth?
Oh yeah, on a 1 mile oval course. They're very, very fast,
Now,
very
they're
loud.
the hydroplanes like?
No, these are flat bottom. They're
Okay.
They're not a hydroplane. We have another class that we're adding this year called the SE class, which basically they run about 85 miles an hour. But it's an interesting class, again, flat bottom. But they run a very large prop. And so in order for them to run in our race, they have to have a disconnect, so that if they blow a piston and that engine freezes up, it disconnects the prop and the shaft from the engine, because if they don't do that, they'll flip over.
Really?
Oh my
Because the
gosh.
prop is so large, yeah. So we require them to have this release, prop release, and so it's going to be interesting. This will be the first time they've run, and we're excited about seeing how they do.
It's unbelievable how many states are represented every single year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where are we this year? Because we're 2 weeks away.
Well, you know, right now I just got off the phone earlier today with folks headed from Chicago. There'll be folks coming in from Canada. We primarily
Wow.
pull from the Mississippi River east, and then California pretty well pulls from the west side. So most of our drivers are coming in from New York, Chicago, Canada, New Jersey, Louisiana. Is also very large. We have quite a contingency from there. So,
And you know, when you
unbelievable.
go to the race, you know, you get to experience this for free. I mean, there isn't a charge
That's
to
correct.
go to Lake Hollingsworth to watch this, but what it takes to bring a boat there. I mean, you've got all the equipment that needs to go to it. I mean, these folks that come really have a huge expense into this,
Well,
because when you go there and you see all the trailers and everything that's involved to haul these boats down here, like from New York or wherever, it's a big operation.
well, when you talk about the trailers, they actually have a full shop inside the
Inside.
trailer, and so they can fix anything, and they do take up a lot of room. But it's a lot of money invested in all their rigs, and the races, the boats are getting so fast now that it's really very much like NASCAR. You almost have to have a boat put in a wind tunnel to understand what's going on out there, and they actually can control the front of the boats in many of the classes. And I might add that most of the classes we're running, with the exception of the youngsters, they're what we call kneel-down boats, will have capsules. And so therefore we have to have divers. We have to have 4 divers on the course at all times, so that if anyone flips over, then we can get into there and get them out of that capsule.
Gene, is that a
And they're on
APBA
oxygen.
rule?
Yes.
American Powerboat Association
We
rule?
are sanctioned by the American Powerboat Association. Thank you for bringing that up. And their rules are very strict, and safety is our major concern. And of course, most of these capsules now are some form of Kevlar or a composite, and so boats pretty well bounce off of each other, and it's it's really safe. And of course, they all carry oxygen, so if they're upside down, the oxygen automatically flips on. If for some reason there's a malfunction there, our divers have oxygen with them, and they can plug it in an external outlet on the outside of the boat so that we can pump oxygen in there immediately. So it's
wow.
Yeah, a lot of time is spent on safety.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
American Powerboat Association. The event itself, for those of you that are interested in going, and this is one, don't miss it. This is an awesome experience.
Yeah.
It is free. Right on Lake Hollingsworth, you know, if you know where the Lakeland Yacht Club is, I don't even remember the road that intersects there coming down from Edgewood.
Cleveland Heights Boulevard.
Cleveland Heights Boulevard and all of that. So it's really easy to find. You just look for the cars. And it starts, Gene, on March 1st, which is, wow.
Friday.
Yeah, next Friday.
Yeah.
That is unbelievable. March 1st, and lake testing and so on. Saturday the 2nd is the first day of racing.
Right.
And those are actually two separate races than the Sunday race.
We start all over Sunday.
Okay.
And that's one of the reasons why a lot of drivers like to come here, because they get twice the number of points. And at the end of the year, the national champions, and speaking of national champions, in the tunnel boats, what we call the outboard performance class, which is the tunnel boats, Terry Rinker from Tampa is the world's champion.
Oh, really?
And when you talk about the trailers, I mean, you have to come down to the lake and just look at his trailer. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, that's he used to, I remember. Well, he's raced there before.
Oh yeah.
He's an exciting driver, but then he's raced out at Cypress Gardens too. He had a, if I remember correctly, it was a yellow boat.
That's correct.
Yeah, and he's still doing that that type of stuff, and he's out of Tampa. So that's some exciting stuff. Once again, March 1st is the lake testing, and actually you see some pretty fun stuff on that day. And then the races, there's two, remember, Saturday and Sunday, March 2nd and 3rd, kicks off at 10:30 a.m. on Saturday and 12 p.m. Noon on Sunday. So for those of you that have church plans like most of us do, take the family right after and have yourself a great time. And they do have snacks.
Well, we have the Lakeland Power Squadron who provides our concessions. They also provide pickup boats for us. They have been a very instrumental part in the success of the race, as well as, and I've got to say that sports marketing has been a tremendous help. And Josh Hicks has been helping. He has become my right hand, and I'm trying. I told him the other day.
And then you're going to get the left when you get to the race.
Well, I told him the other day I just want him to get to where he can run this whole thing, and all I have to do is walk out on the dock and look important. So,
racers, get ready. Yeah, that's some good stuff. Well, man, Gene, add it one more time. That's just absolutely incredible. Looking forward to some great weather. And if you add a little wind in there every once in a while, you get some pretty exciting action. Oh, yeah. That's, that can prove to be an expensive proposition for some of those drivers.
Well, we watch the weather pretty close, and we can tell you exactly what the speed is and the whole bit. Hopefully, last year we actually got blown out on Sunday. Unfortunately, that's it's not like Daytona where NASCAR, where you can still run when it gets windy. But if it gets too windy, then we call the race.
Yeah. Gene, thanks a million. We always appreciate it.
Thank you.
We've got this has got to be the busiest month in sports in Florida. It really does.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, and we're kicking it off with the Orange Cup Regatta again. It's 80 years. It's been around 80 years, everybody. So make sure you check that out again. Lake Hollingsworth, March 1st through the 3rd. You can't miss this one. The family will love it.